Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review this iPhone shot romance comedy drama in the vein of all great rom-coms of, like Love Actually, which this film actually references, with a big ensemble, and except this one's like over Zoom, or Unicorn, which is the application in the film, is Distancing Socially, and this is from writer-director Chris Blake, and starring an interesting cast of actors. From you have Alan Tudyk, who is just like stains all down the front of him, looks dead inside, but as always is quick to have some wit. You have Sarah Levy, who I love from Schitt's Creek, and she has a role in this film. A whole bunch of other people, Andy Buckley of The Office fame, and I really enjoyed him in this. Rory Scovel, who I've recently gotten to see in, if I'm not mistaken, he was the one in Physical, playing the husband, and then you have Jim O'Hare, Jerry, Gary, Larry, Gergich from Parks and Rec, and you have this whole cast of different characters who have a convenient link between everybody, being able to keep all of these little vignettes going from vignette to vignette to vignette in semi-effective way. There's definitely some that feel a little less necessary than others. There's some interludes that I felt like, did we really need these? Kind of feel like they're just kind of there to push maybe the themes forward and really trying to do that and accomplish that. But, in general, I think this film has a pretty charismatic cast who are committed to bringing these different stories together, some of which are pretty cliched without a whole lot of nuance, and other ones are pretty interesting. And I think like Tudyk and Scovel have some great chemistry together. Their sequences are some of my favorites. You have David Wallace himself, Andy Buckley, who I feel like does a really fine job into some of his parts, and like he's involved with Tudyk and Scovel, but he's also involved with one of the other storylines where like his daughter's a part of it. You have some interesting and cheesy ones. You have this sequence where it's just like it's a bunch of acting auditions that Buckley's character is kind of like the supervisor of the woman doing these interviews, and she has an interview with one particular character that I think that's where this film's really leaning into some of that like romantic comedy aspects. It's where we get our nice ode to Love Actually. I really felt like the Jim O'Hare one felt really out of place, and like there's little moments where they connect later in the film, but like some of this felt like it was unnecessary and just another thing to add a little extra characters and a little extra story, a little extra narrative. There's some more emotional ones. There's one dealing with like a fracturing marriage involving Sarah Levy, and I enjoyed her and her performance in this film. Definitely Tudyk was my favorite and Scovel a close second. I felt like they were real highlights of this film. But in general, I feel like this film, it made me laugh at times. It made me feel some emotions at times. Other times it just kind of felt like going through the motions of going from one vignette to another, which is why I don't love this film or strongly like this film. I thought it was fine, it was solid, it had its moments. I think Blake, tries to capitalize on this ensemble on Zoom the best that he can, and obviously it's the whole main crux of a lot of the narrative is dealing with the pandemic and being in isolation. But in general, I think this is a solid film that is able to deliver on some aspects of the pandemic life that we all had to live for a long time in terms of quarantine. And in general, I think this was an interesting approach to this form of filmmaking that started happening during the pandemic. But those are my thoughts on Distancing Socially. Let me know what you think. Let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.